So good morning, everybody. Some of you think you all heard, but Marion was unable to facilitate this morning, so I'm going to do it for her with the article that she chose. And I will start by reading the guidelines. I suspect there'll be people coming in after I do this. Eracism is the slogan of the group Erace, which was formed in New Orleans in the summer of 1993. We seek ways through person-to-person communication to show that we are committed to treating all human beings with love, respect, empathy, compassion, and humility. Join us. Erace is an organization that does not espouse any political party, and we have no religious affiliation. We believe in acceptance of all people, and no personal attacks of any kind will be tolerated. We come with the intent to listen, learn, and not to argue. I'll read the land acknowledgement. We begin today by acknowledging that what we know as the United States is the ancestral and unceded territory of many indigenous peoples, and that there are many more nations and tribes that could be named here. Members of our meeting group today are on the lands of the Chitimacha and Choctaw in New Orleans, the Creeks and Cherokees in Atlanta, the Tonkawan, Lipan Apache, and Comanche in Austin, the Lenape and Piscataway in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, the Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples in Boston, the Coahuila and Mojave in Riverside, and the Lumbee in Fayetteville. We thank their ancestors for being stewards of these lands through the generations and through today. We need to protect and honor the history and people of these places. Despite centuries of colonial theft and violence, we should always remember that we are all still on Indigenous land, and it will always be Indigenous land. So briefly, the guidelines: keep yourself on mute. If you're not called on to speak, if you want to get on the list to speak, put up a finger and I'll put you on the list. I believe Louise has her timer and she'll keep time for me. Thank you. And if somebody is speaking and has a clarifying question for the person who's been speaking, you can put up two fingers and you'll be called on to ask a clarifying question, which is not to rebut or argue with them, but to say, I didn't understand what you meant by a certain word or phrase or statement. Sometime before 11:30, we'll do the roundup, probably given our numbers right now earlier than later. And I can't explain why Miriam picked this article for her. So I will just say I didn't think that the headline matched the article. It didn't seem to make the point that it was trying to make, in my opinion. So with that, the list is open. Anybody want to get on?
Intros?
So, yeah, I was going to say that we have to introduce ourselves.
Please introduce yourselves. You know, I always forget that. I always forget something.
Okay. Well, good morning. I'm Nancy. I'm in New Orleans. I've been coming since 2007.
Louise?
I'm Louise. I've been coming for a couple of decades. Beatrice, I love that head
Oh my gosh.
thing.
Oh.
I'm not from New Orleans. I started in New Orleans. Now I'm in Austin, Texas.
Teresa.
Thank you. I especially like that Beatrice's picture is right underneath mine. That is fabulous. So we're like the Christmas crew. Anyway, I'm Teresa. I am usually calling from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm in Lorton, Virginia right now, visiting my sister, and I've been coming since about August 2022.
Thank you. Richard?
Good morning, everybody. Richard, and normally talking to you from New Orleans. At the moment, I'm in St. Francisville at the library in St. Francisville. Finally got this glitchy computer to work, so happy to be here. and I've been with the New Orleans racism group since its beginning in '93, I believe.
Thank you. Beatrice.
Hi, good morning. I'm Beatrice here in East Point, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, co-founder with my late husband, Larry, of the Atlanta chapter. So glad to be with you all.
Welcome. I just want to remind everybody to put yourself on mute if you are not speaking. And does anybody want to get on the list?
Well, I only have one question for Beatrice. The group, I didn't know reindeer were allowed to participate in the racism meetings, but I guess it's an open meeting. Everybody can attend.
Sure.
I have several headgear, and I'll be changing as we go along.
That's awesome. Okay, Liz, anybody?
I can continue. Oh, I'll go after Nancy.
Okay, Nancy and then Teresa.
Okay. Since we don't really know what Marion's intent was on bringing this article, I can just kind of speak to, in reading the article, the things that I guess are the trends that I have been noticing in the last, I don't know, 8 years, I guess, as far as the pushback in terms of, and even in my own personal experiences, as far as, well, I don't see, someone actually told me, I don't see what the need is for affirmative action anymore. I mean, people really seriously believe that there is no need for, there is no need for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then I don't know exactly what their reasoning is, but that somehow everything is like equal and hunky dory, and it isn't. As a matter of fact, there is a strong push, particularly within the Republican Party, I think, which is scary, to turn the country back into like the 1940s and 50s, before civil rights, with a lot of the laws, well, particularly the repeal of Roe versus Wade, and the attacks on other progress that has been made in the civil rights area. And so, yeah, while the article is dated July 3rd, it could have been dated before, and it certainly could be dated now. That's it.
Thank you. That was great timing. Teresa, and then the list is open.
Yeah, I think it's all a push to bring us back to white supremacy and patriarchy. That's why you see the return. There's like diversity, equity, and inclusion is no longer needed because they don't want that. Anyway, what I was thinking about this article, and it's just so funny, the datedness of it, because now what's in the news, which it could go either way. I mean, people look at Trump as the agent of change. Well, the way he changes is by having chaos, and I can't really say that he introduces chaos as much as, again, with him, it's just a probability of things happening because it is so allowed. It is just, I don't know, the way. One of the things, and I've stopped watching the news while I was on vacation, but I'm gonna, of course, resume watching the news. But what I thought was just funny this week is how people are trending like President Musk, because he stopped the initial. I mean, I'm glad the government isn't going to shut down or hasn't shut down today. They voted on the up until March or mid-March or somewhere around there, right around the time when I'm going to get my license, by the way. So if society doesn't collapse, I'll be a pharmacy tech. Maybe we'll still need that. But what I find is funny is and kind of my comment about the datedness of this article is that even just this week, you know, Musk is stepping on Trump's toes, and will he even be around? Because one thing Trump does not like is for someone else to have a bigger crowd size, more people trending about him, and blah, blah, blah. And he's even, tweeting about the elections in Germany. And so I see Musk as a collector of other people, and he wants to have his fingers in so many. He's already interfered with the conflict in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia. Now he has a US president temporarily in his pocket because they don't think Trump's going to tolerate that for too long, and he wants a German one. So that's the trend that I'm looking at, is how much influence is this one person, who is the richest person on the planet, gonna have in everything. I mean, to me, that's the bigger trend. He and his multiple children, and even that is kind of racist, because I don't know if some of you have watched that Man with 1,000 Children documentary on Netflix. It's a really gross documentary. It's basically white men wanting to spread their seed to multiple women to improve the human race, and they lie about how many children that they have fathered. So I'll listen to everyone else. Thank you.
Let me know when you want to get back on the list. Louise is next, and then the list is open.
Well, I've only got to say really what Nancy and Teresa were saying, that it is worrying, and I think it is going to be true that they want to send us back in time. And my fear, or my question is, like, what on earth do we do about it, apart from fleeing the country or just getting out of Dodge? Because I can only imagine how it's going to be. And very interesting about Musk. Very interesting. What's his plan? What's his end game? It's like a horrible movie that we're all part of. But anyway, that was it really, just to comment on that.
Amal's next, and then Beatrice.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is really a good article. This is so loaded with a lot of juicy stuff in here. The bottom line is that white folks are in a panic. This country is becoming a little bit too colorful for them. And the reaction that you're seeing is what it is a result of that panic. They don't want to see all of these quote immigrants, all of these quote minorities, and all of these people of color, and all these little fancy names that they try to throw out there without saying, that their numbers are dwindling and these other people's numbers are increasing. And so what you're seeing is a panic attack coming from white folks in this country, and on the world stage, if for that matter. But the thing that it was a part in this article that I thought was quite interesting. It says there's an initiative across multiple states to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs while portraying white Americans as the true victims of racism. I thought that was the funniest thing, because I'm like, who are these white people? Where are they? And where is the race? Who is the racism that they're experiencing coming from? Who are the people that they're experiencing this racism from? I was amazed by that. And in that same paragraph, if you go down further, If you go down further in it says senior Trump aide Stephen Miller report.
We can't hear you suddenly, Amal. Amal?
Racism on the rise.
I'm
sorry.
We lost you for a
Can you
minute.
hear me now?
No, after you
You
said,
did?
we can hear you now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was when you were said Stephen Miller, and then kind of you went out.
Okay, I'll get back on this. It's okay.
Okay. So I've got Beatrice, Richard, and then Amal again.
I just want to lament how short the efforts are to remedy the circumstances of African American people in this country and how we have gotten here, how short the efforts are. We look at right after George Floyd, of course, everybody, you know, the DEI committees, and we're going to do this and we're going to contribute this. Like the wink of an eye, the blink of an eye, it's all gone. And for the number of years, if you look at the history of our people in this country, not just enslavement, but Jim Crow, the intentional efforts to keep people from rising, the closing out of Reconstruction when we were really making some real efforts, not just for ourselves, but creating public schools for white children who could not afford to pay to go to school. The fear, the lynching, and now recently the voting issue, the suppression. I just think of it's just such a short, it's like the wink of an eye. We're going to fix something that it took 400 years to create and that people still suffer from. This whole issue, and this is not in here, but the issue of vouchers for schools, people destroying public schools is what they're doing. In our state, they're giving people $6,500 to do what with? To go where with? It's money taken out of the regular school budget. But I just am lamenting how short people are doing, who supposedly are making efforts to remedy what has been real treatment of people, of African American people in this country. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she said to Roberts, you know, do you throw your umbrella away because it's not raining? When he was gutting Part 2 of the Voting Rights Act. I mean, it gets very discouraging. It gets discouraging because who's gonna fight?
Beatrice, Richard, you're next, and then Amal. The list is open after that.
Yeah, trying to get used to this laptop, which is not mine, but I just wanted to, I think Amal and others have had good points, but I want to get back to something that I brought up in previous meetings before, when Amal and it's often done by commentators on all sides of an issue. To me, it's just not a credible generalization to say white people are looking. I forgot the exact context, Amal, that you were talking about, but I just beseech folks, whenever we talk about a generalization about a group of people, and it's often in the pejorative sense, whether we're talking about quote white people or black people or any people, it's my simple request is to use two words. The first word is TOO, and the second word is many. In other words, which is almost everybody will agree with a comment, or many more people are likely to agree if you say too many white people are insistent on getting rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We can agree on that, but I lose interest when folks start talking about a group in general, because it just isn't true. And the comment that you also made, that I think it was about that somebody in the article talked about, well, the real racist folks are not the white folks, it's the black folks. That happened to be the African American senator, I believe, from South Carolina, Scott. So it gets, it's always more complicated than the generalizations sometimes lead us to believe.
Thank you, Richard. Mal, you're up again, and the list is open if anybody wants to get on the list.
Yeah, I can respect that. I can respect the generalization, the not using generalizations. I could respect that. I think I think though, when I see things in terms of, it's like Malcolm X said, if when you throw a rock in a crowd of dogs, the only one that hollers is the one that get hit. If I throw a rock in the crowd, if the rock ain't meant for you, you ain't hit. Then no, don't holler because it wasn't meant for you. So you're not the person that I'm talking to, in other words. And so but I can respect the not generalizing. What I was saying is that there was in an article, when you go down quite a bit. Let's see, what's this? It says senior Trump aide Stephen Miller reportedly planning to focus on alleged anti-white racism should the former president win a second term in November. And so I keep trying to figure out who these white folks that's experiencing all this racism and where they at and from who. I've often asked, even in the context of these meetings, for anybody, white or black, or anybody who may be attending, to give me historical or present examples of anti-white racism. Give me one. See, I could go down a list of things when it comes to my people and what they experience in this country, and I don't think I should have to do that because I think everybody already know. But give me a historical example, one, of anti-white racism in the United States. I'll wait.
You'll be waiting. Next I have Teresa, and the list is open.
All right, first thing I want to do is, I think I said the last minute that Trump relates the word urban with black, and I didn't know if he had picked an urban secretary. Well, this is kind of dated because I missed it because so much other stuff happens. But back in November, which is where the link to the article, it's a black former NFL player. I wish I could make money when I predict racist things like that. And Richard, I do play racism bingo because I said the only reason Ben Carson got urban secretary for the first Trump administration was because he's black. In Trump's mind, urban is black. And once again, his pick for urban is a black man. So yay me. Amal, as the only thing I can tell you about, because I don't know of any legislature that stops white people from moving where they want to move or practicing like redlining. I don't know of any sets of laws that are the equivalent of Jim Crow for white people. I don't know any, and we're talking not at an individual, because I know that there are racist people against white people. I don't know legislatively when we've ever classified a white person as, for example, 3/5 of a person legally, or talked about any of the other practices that was done to us, like on paper, on the books, signs that says in the window, no whites or blacks only, or any of that. But what I can tell you is that there are some white people who will see like Obama and think, how in the hell did we get this N-word in the White House? The country has fallen because the color of Obama's skin, and that Obama, oh, I love the fascinator, Beatrice, and that Obama should have never been president because a more qualified white person should have been president, or that a more qualified, and when you think about something like affirmative action, it's like, oh, you're beating out some more. There's always this mythological, but they're always a more qualified white person, as if there is never a more qualified person of color for a particular job. And that either makes some white people feel angry or like disrespected, or if you ever make a white person feel guilty, that's part of the reasons why they don't want diversity or to teach multiculturalism. Oh, that's just to make white kids feel bad, which is not the point at all. I mean, no one cared about making me feel bad when history didn't reflect the contributions of a lot of women or black people to this country, other than the slaves, Harriet Tubman, and like, you know, like the handful of black people that they would teach. And yes, I heard the Louise. Oh, I did hear your timer. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. The list is open again. Bueller. Anybody? Beatrice wants to say something, don't you?
Yeah, just briefly, Stephen Miller. I mean, if you know anything about Stephen Miller's history, for him to be as insensitive about people who come to this country looking for a safe place is just, it just breaks the heart, because his parents, or maybe his grandparents, came to this country not speaking English, not having anything. And one of the architects of the separating children, I find Stephen Miller unbearable. And for him to be in charge of it, or his voice being whispered in the ear of the president-elect, however he's going to manage what they think they can do with removing people from this country. Well, first of all, it can't happen. If you listen, first of all, there's no place to put people. They don't have ICE doesn't have enough planes. It's all ridiculous. But just going back to Stephen Miller himself, I just find it so difficult to understand, appreciate, experience, see, read about people who if they scratch if you scratch your own skin, you have the same issues that people who struggle to this country. It's in your family too. Your people struggled coming to this country. How can you not be sympathetic, understanding? And why don't we just get somebody who's going to work on a comprehensive immigration policy and stop using the border as a political football? I'm just so tired. And these people, and blaming the people for bringing fentanyl. Please, you think people are walking through water with their children on their backs and not bringing drugs? Let's do better. We can do better.
Thank you, Beatrice. I see your hand, Leonetta. You're next up. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I'm late, and I didn't read the article. And if I say something that's out of context, I'm sorry because I didn't read it. I'm so glad to be back with y'all. I don't know if I've ever told y'all this, but between Halloween and New York, I have named it the incest season, and I have been so busy. I'm just overwhelmed right now. All the shelters are full, and anyway, I don't want to need to go into that. But anyway, I'm just stressed. I'm stressed out. Pray for me, Phyllis. I'm stressed out.
Hear you.
So, but to get back on this subject, first of all, I'm so happy to have a place that I could talk about this subject. I worked so hard with the Divine Nine to get this man elected president, and when he was elected, I was depressed for 2 days. It just. But when I found out that he did not carry Orleans Parish, felt a little bit better because I felt like my work wasn't in vain. So what's going on right now? It's all in Project 25. Why is everybody under this? Why is everybody surprised? I don't understand it. The man told you what he was going to do. He and this with what is the rich man? It's just utterly ridiculous what's going on with the budget and stuff. This is just a preview of what the craziness we got in store for us for these next 40 years. Next 4 years, I'm sorry, 4 years. No, please help me, not 40. 4 years. 4 years. And I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know. I just don't know. When I was talking to people, what they thought was so good when Trump was president. I don't know what they was drinking, what they thought. It was chaos, and we're gonna get more chaos. Thank.
Thank you. The list is open if anybody wants to get on. Nancy, anybody else?
Well, in listening to some people who why they voted for Trump, the economy. A lot of people said the economy was a lot better under Trump than it was under Biden. But I think what they don't or did not understand what happened at the time is that, and it kind of seems to be proven out over the years, is that the Obama administration left Trump with a very good economy. Okay. Along came the pandemic, which he did not handle well at all. And there were shortages and supply chain issues, which caused inflation. All right. Which Biden had, which he left for Biden. I mean, it's like what one administration has to correct, the next administration inherits, if that makes sense. So, like, Obama inherited Bush's economy, which was the housing crisis of 2008. And he had 8 years to fix that. He did a good job doing that. And then he left Trump with a good economy. And then the pandemic came along, and he's giving away money like it's candy, or peanuts or something like that. And of course, you can't spend money like that.
She called her last night to tell her.
Excuse me.
Louise, you're not muted.
Sorry.
Well, anyway, I think my time is up, but you get the point, right? That is why people voted for, or people claim that they voted for.
Thank you, Nancy.
Trump.
Thank you so much.
The list is open. Amal. And anybody else? Go ahead, Amal.
Yeah. Like I said, this article just so loaded. It's just a lot of it here. So there was a part in the article where it talks about the Great Replacement theory. And for those who don't know what that is, it holds that white Americans are deliberately being replaced by immigrants of color. Once again, going back to the panic that white people are experiencing in this country because it is getting too colorful for them. And so when you've held on, when you've been the power structure for so long, when you see numbers like that, and you see those numbers increasing and yours decreasing, you are afraid that you won't hold on to that power that you once held over those people no more, and that they'll do to you what you did to them. That's the panic of white folk. That people, but that's never been our intent. The only thing we've ever asked for is that the playing field be equal as you say it is on paper. That's it. Not looking to bring no harm to white people or discriminate against white people. And for the people who think that diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's like, oh, well, they're bringing in too many people of color. No, that's diversity in every area and facet of society you can imagine. That means that you're going to have religious diversity of minds, because all black people don't think the same, all white people don't think the same. diversity in gender, it's the list just goes on and on. So for people to automatically, when they see diversity, equity, and inclusion, to mean that there's going to be this influx of black people and white people are somehow being pushed out, you got a misunderstanding as to what that means. Equally, as the assumption is with affirmative action that, oh, you're gonna bring in all of these white people, bring in all of these black people and push white people out of jobs that they qualify for. First and foremost, white women are the main beneficiaries of affirmative action. And I think when we talk about affirmative action, that's not that point is not highlighted enough, because when we say affirmative action, we automatically think about black people taking away from white people. White women are the main beneficiaries of affirmative action. So if anything is being taken from white men, it's your women that's taking them away from, not black people.
Thanks, Amal. Richard had a clarifying question.
Yes, Amal, again, it's when you refer to white people being in a panic about regarding the black replacement or the white replacement theory. Again, I'm questioning: are you talking about too many white people, the majority of white people, or almost all white people? I think it's important in terms of credibility to when we talk about these, about a race reacting to another, taking action as a whole. If we're, what was your intent when you talked about white people are buying into a white replacement theory? Is it all white, most people, white people, or majority, or too many?
I like the multiple choice in that, man. I'm talking about enough white people to where this is in Congress.
Okay.
That's
Fair
what
enough. I'm
talking about enough to where it could reach that level to where it's in the political arena.
All right, that's a fair answer.
So, but not definitely not all. Like I say, nothing is all. Nothing is all. So when you hear me say white people, or if you hear me say black people, I've said things about black that could be misunderstood about black people. Once again, nothing is all. So it's never geared towards all.
Good.
Thank you both. Stephanie, you are next.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. It's nice to see all of you. Thanks for the article. The article was really helpful for me. I'm in a little bit of a battle. My college roommate, who is a social worker and married to a Hispanic, we had a conversation several months ago where she said she believed that Trump was exactly what the country needed. And I debated her for 3 hours with a migraine at the end of it over the summer, but then I've been avoiding her ever since. And I had to finally explain myself recently that, it just was too obvious that I was avoiding her. So we had a conversation, and it's very hard for me to see someone that supported Trump as anything other than total racist. And so she reached out again and just said, I feel like you're breaking up with me and you're judging me when you have family members that, voted for him. And just all of the examples in the article of the racism and the white supremacy and everything helped me, because she wants to understand to see if she would come to our Erace meeting, if we would want her there, because she is willing to come. But I don't get offended when people say white people in the context of being racist, because there's just all too many around me. So, it's heartbreaking to me, especially to see someone like her, who is she's got a good heart, and she is an empathetic person. So just to see them be so misinformed and so blind to their own racism is continually heartbreaking. And so the examples in this article of the white supremacy and the racism that continues systemically, just very helpful for me when I do get my energy up to have dialogue with people like her. So thanks for being here.
Tell your friend I'm a social worker. Leonetta's a social worker.
Thanks. Yeah, she's bought into the demonization of immigrants and all that that's happened in the press. So I just continue to debate her every chance I get. But thanks for being here.
Yep, she's welcome to come. Okay, the list is open again.
I would love to talk to her also. Phyllis and I would love to talk to her.
Thank you.
We'll have just a
Beautiful
private
sunny
meeting with
background.
her. What'd you say, Amal?
I was saying that's a beautiful sunny background that she has. The
Yes.
presentation is, look like it weather's good.
Yeah, it's sunny today.
Okay. Anybody else want to get on the list?
I'll speak as it
Yeah.
relates to something
And
that's
Nancy.
saying with her friend. Friends are gonna have differences in opinion. Don't fall out with your friend over the fact that she voted for Trump or was attempting to vote for Trump. Look, I got family members who got. I trust me. I'm on the very far spectrum of them politically, and I've debated cousins over politics on plenty of occasions. So, but I still love my family or my friends or whoever the person is. It's they're I'm assuming your friend is Caucasian. They don't consciously know or understand the that they may harbor some white supremacist ideas. I know some black people like that harbor white supremacist ideas, and they just don't know it because they've never been called on it. And when they've never been called on something or their thoughts have never been challenged, then they continue to harbor those beliefs. That's the beauty of these meetings. You can be called or challenged on your thoughts. That's why I come here, because I want people to challenge my thoughts. I don't, there's some things that I believe that I would appreciate if somebody would challenge me on. And keep having the conversation with her. And maybe she'll come around, or maybe she won't. But the beauty of it is y'all could at least have a conversation about it and not fall out at the end.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And Nancy, you want it on the list?
Yes, I did.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add to or talk about, when you find out Trump. I mean, that can. I had to. I had to. I can't remember if I unfollowed them on Facebook or I just snoozed them for 30 days because I just could not believe that this person had, on the day after the election, had put a red wave as their, cover. When you change your cover photo and it says so and so changed their cover photo, and they put this big red wave up. And I, this is the last person I would have ever have thought, giving from whence they came, be a Republican. Okay. I was blown away. I was like, I have taken you. I just was, I had, no. I can see how somebody can break up with somebody because I had no idea that this person was an undercover Republican, and I mean, there are people that, that are, upfront with it, they're a forever Trumper or whatever, and you expect them to be a forever Trumper. But this person came from out of left field, from under the cover, from behind the refrigerator as a Trumper and as a Republican. And I had no, and I was, no. And okay, my 2 minutes are up, but yes, I can understand how you can't deal with it. Okay.
Okay. I've got Louise and then Teresa.
So Amal, I'll question you because I think you bring up a great point about you know, you can still be friends with someone that is an out and out racist, um, friend or family members, because surely, in my opinion anyway, if they have those values, I don't want to know them. And I do agree that yes, you could try and talk, and if they haven't been confronted, it might, sift out some understanding later down the road. But if they don't change, and if they are just they really do have those thoughts, I don't want to be around someone with those kind of deep, ethical values. It's not, I don't want to just talk about the weather and what's, a good show on TV when that's what they believe. So I disagree with you that you can still be friends. I mean, you can still be civil, obviously, be civil with them, but actual friends, I don't think so.
Thank
That's
you, Louise, Teresa, and then Nancy.
Oh, is it my turn now?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't sure. Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear the buzzer. I just put in the chat that there were a lot of Trump Democrats because North Carolina went for Trump, but if you look at the state level, there were a lot of Democrats who won. And I think that was also reflected, I think, in Arizona. They went for Trump, but a lot of Democratic values was voted for statewide. So I hope we're going toward ranked choice because I think that would clarify a lot instead of voting among political lines, because that's what a lot of North Carolinians did. We didn't vote for the most conservative state-wise, which is why I forget who said that they were so happy that I think it was Leonetta. I was happy that Fayetteville, where I live, went for Harris. We were one of the blue dots. There were about 3 or 4 blue dots in North Carolina, and I live in one of them. So that made me feel a little bit better. But moreover, I was happy. But
No.
he's so holier than thou. It's like, oh, even you watch porn, you know, and he did a last ditch effort to talk about how he and his wife made a decision to have an abortion. And I was just like, oh, was she not responsible enough to keep her skirt down? Because that was the soundbite that he used, against other women. So I'm just measuring him by his own words. So I was very happy as a North Carolinian that, North Carolina went for more progressive candidates statewide, even though the state went for Trump. So that's why I put in the chat, I think there were a lot of Trump Democrats. I don't think they were undercover Republicans at all, given the results of what I saw happen in North Carolina.
Thank you for that. Nancy, you're next, and then the list is open again.
Okay, back to,
Come on.
relationships fracturing over, political ideologies or candidates or what have you. Aunt on the other side of the family, and I really don't know her, but he was telling me that her and her husband, they haven't gotten a divorce, but she moved out because he voted for Trump and she voted for Kamala. Okay. And I was like, is that something really to, break up a relationship over? But however, since I don't know him, okay, but if I could kind of see how if you support, would I be in a relationship with somebody who supported Trump? Would I personally be in a relationship with somebody? No, no. Because if you, in my opinion, he is a racist, sexist pig. Okay. And obviously, there is something that you find appealing about that. Do not find appealing about you. Okay. If you support a person with that mindset and that thought direction. And I couldn't, but so I could, at first, and my initial thought was you would split up with somebody over that. But in a way, it would depend on the person and what part of Trump do you find appealing? Do you like his machoism? Yeah, throw him out of here. Do you like that about him? Do you like, oh yeah, you can just grab them and they'll let you do it if you're a star? Do you think you're a star? Well, yeah, traditionally I am a star. And if they've got that kind of mindset, yeah, I could kind of see where you might not like somebody who identifies with that type of personality or mindset. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you, Nancy. I've got them all next. List is open after that.
Yeah, responding to something Luis was saying, I'm not suggesting that you be friends with a racist, and what I mean by that is that what I was saying is that there are people who can harbor thoughts that just haven't been challenged. And like I say, white supremacist thoughts. I'll give you an example of what I mean. I'm sure Teresa at some point in time in her journey of locking her hair have heard from other Black people, why you wear your hair like that? That's a white supremacist talking point. But they don't know it because they've never been challenged on it. Why don't you straighten your hair? Why don't you look more presentable? Those are white supremacist talking points. And this is coming from Black people. But I guarantee you that nobody's ever challenged them on it because there are people who believe that in the Black community, that there would be something wrong with Teresa's hair. Now, do you fall out with those people? Because these people are in my family. My mom will probably be one of them. I'm not going to fall out with my mama. I'm not going to just, like throw mama away. But I'll challenge her on her thoughts. Now, when that racism or that white supremacy to cause harm to this person because they're Black, I want to cause harm to this person because they're Muslim or so on and so forth. That's when this becomes problematic. No, I'm not suggesting you be friends with a Klan member under no circumstances. But once again, there are people who harbor thoughts that just have never been challenged. And because they have those thoughts, that's not a reason to fall out with them. You can dialogue. And sometimes in that dialogue, you can come to an agreement about things. Another example is I used to work with this older white guy, Mr. Henry. And if I was in my late 20s, Mr. Henry would have probably been in his early 70s at the time. And this was in the early 2000s. So I was about 27 at the time. And Mr. Henry used to use words like color. One of my first partners was a colored guy. Now, Mr. Henry didn't think nothing was wrong with that language because he grew up at a time when that was the consent, that was the way you described an African American person. You would say colored. But he didn't think nothing was wrong with that language. He didn't think nothing was white supremacist or racist about that because that's what he understood. And I had a dialogue with him about it. And that's what I'm saying. At least engage the person in conversation rather than be so quick to dismiss them because their beliefs doesn't uphold with yours.
Thank you, Amal. Stephanie, I've got you next.
Thanks. Yeah, the conversation with her was telling, I think, about a lot of the roots of what's gone on. Her big issue white people, I'm sorry, that too many white people expect. So Laken Riley in Athens, Georgia, was killed by an illegal immigrant. And she just kept going back to, well, I know Laken Riley's, friends, family, and they're still heartbroken. And just the entitlement, and God bless Laken Riley and her family. That was heartbreaking. But, just a total overlooking of all of the Black and brown people that are killed on a regular basis from gun violence and everything. And I told her, I said, what about the Jefferson 10? All those families that we've gotten to know that I love, they're so heartbroken. And all the people, all the Black and brown people that are killed by police officers, those numbers skyrocketed, along with, school shootings and everything. Lake and Riley, and just the privilege and the expectation that, the white privileged community has to be protected and forget about all of the rest. And then the voucher issue came up. So she asked me, as a Christian, how can you vote for Kamala? And how can you overlook, this pro-life, Christian stance? And I just talked about, how my Erace group was downtown having lunch, and we saw a homeless, mentally ill woman who was pregnant with twins. And I said, congratulations, you guys took these babies out of the arms of Jesus and put them onto the streets. And just how the Republicans they're not doing enough for the underprivileged people who are being forced to have babies and not being helped. So she sent me this voucher article, and she said, hey, could this voucher help any of the people that or Samaj, who used to live, especially against communities of color. And she was surprised, and she said, I want to learn more. I saw it as only doing nothing but helping. So she was open to listening and learning more. So thanks for being here. I'll pass.
Thanks, Governor. Teresa, you're next. And then I think we'll do the wrap up.
Yeah, I say first and foremost, if you don't feel safe, then don't enter the conversation, because your safety mentally and physically is most important. And I would even say the advice have to be safe before you can really enter a conversation, and it's a level of vulnerability. But, as soon as you were talking about that one immigrant who killed, an American, it just leads me to think, well, if immigration, and this is a dated argument anyway, and it's BS, because if immigration was so great, then why did Trump during the election cycle stop the bipartisan legislature? He literally said because he wanted to run on that. Okay. He literally used that as a political tool. He does not care about the border. He cares about getting votes so he can be in power. And, the next time you talk about an immigrant killing an American, the guy Luigi, he's an American. He killed another American. They made national news. And you got people, are you telling me that this apparently attractive murderer, if he was an immigrant, the story would be, oh, the border is so porous. Blah. But no, he's an American who some people think are attractive, which to me is horrifying, because wasn't Ted Bundy touted as the gentleman lady killer or something like that because he too was attractive looking? Maybe I'm getting my serial killers wrong, but there was one serial killer. I thought it was Ted Bundy. I mean, Ted Bundy might have been the one who ate people. I get them confused. Okay. But there was one who was like the attractive gentleman killer. You guys probably know who I'm alluding to, but just because this guy looks attractive, you think that he should be freed, and you're going to offer money to like his legal bills or something. So you look at the narrative of who gets the empathy and who doesn't. And even that is racist. Who gets empathy and who doesn't?
Thank you, Teresa. We'll go into the wrap up. I believe everybody has spoken, and so everybody gets 1 minute for the wrap up. And I'll call you out. Leonetta, do you want to go first?
This was a wonderful meeting. I'm sorry I've been away from so long. I enjoyed it. I'm so glad I got a chance to on this subject. And I just hope I pray every night for America that it doesn't be as long, it doesn't be as bad as I think it's going to be. That Project 25 does not come into fruition. And God help us. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year. And the people who that are in New Orleans, I'd like to invite you to a Kwanzaa celebration on the 27th at my church at 6 p.m. St. Peter Claver. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Dee Dee. We are doing the wrap up.
I figured that. I know I couldn't get here on time, but I wanted to tell everybody Merry Christmas and see your faces anyway.
Good. Good to see you. You can feel free to do the wrap up. You can get 2 minutes after I let everybody else have their 1 minute. Amal, you can go next.
Yeah, great article. And a lot of good points brought out about it. Yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to these next 4 years to see how things are going to play out. And if Project 25 doesn't scare people, it just makes me wonder what country are you living in? Because if you read that and you're taking it literally for the way it's written on paper, then you should be afraid. You should be afraid. But great article, good points. Just looking forward to seeing how these next 4 years are going to pan out.
Thanks, Amal. Stephanie?
Yes, thank you all for being here. I just couldn't fight these battles without all of your support, and I'm going to continue to fight. I did mention to her, that he was running, didn't go for the bipartisan border bill, and she said, "Yeah, but that was bloated with too many things that they were slipping in," and yet she couldn't name one thing that it was bloated with. So, I did tell her I couldn't help my feelings of not feeling comfortable and interested in engaging with her, but I'm so encouraged that she is willing to come to Erace meetings and give up her morning at the gym sometime to see what I'm so passionate about that makes me feel so angry with her and some of her views and stuff. So I just continue to be mind blown by the protection of whiteness and the protection of wealth that Trump has gotten and everybody that he's brought on board. Because if someone of color that has done what he has done, one of my friends said to me, they wouldn't just be in jail, they would be dead. And yet he's our president that's about to be in office. So I'm so grateful for all of you. Merry Christmas or happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, or whatever you're celebrating, and grateful for all of you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Stephanie. Louise?
First, wait. Yes, you can hear me. Firstly, I would say, Stephanie, yes, definitely invite her. And I thought then that you were one of the wisest people around the table, and I still do. You're a really wise young man, and happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you, Louise. Beatrice?
Thank you, everyone. I know that we just have to continue working and not be discouraged and disappointed. I understand that one way of dealing with people who we tend to have differences with is to kind of ask them, where did you get that information, or where did you find that out, or what experience, kind of probing in a very kind way. And also, I remember Beverly Tatum, former president of Spelman and author of Why All the White Black Children Eating Together, saying that when people say things to her, she might say, I used to believe like that, but now I believe. So you just it's just work. It's just work. But thank you, everyone, for sharing. And as a final contemplative Advent. Those of us that do Advent, it's still Advent, not quite Christmas, but enjoy your Christmas. All the best 2025. Richest blessings, peace, joy. Don't worry about stuff. Work on it. It's going to be all right. We've been through all the times and we made it through.
Thank you, Beatrice.
Oh, my Christmas tree falls on my head.
Richard?
I still go with your reindeer antlers at the beginning, Beatrice. They look great. They all did. It's, as we, from the very beginning, to me, it's always been the personal anecdotes, the personal interactions that we relate to at these meetings that we did a lot today too. So that resonated a lot with me. Not the least of which was, again, Amal, you're in the spotlight. Your interaction with I believe you said was the older white police fellow who used the word colored. And I just like to, and that reflected in your mind his I don't know if you actually call it racist attitudes, but something amounting to that. The NAACP is still called the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. They never changed their names to the NAAPC. And to me, that gets at the whole broad spectrum discussion of what do we really consider racist discussion. A great talk, and I miss those personal discussions because of the local anecdotes we talk back and forth on. But this is the next best thing, and we have a much broader group. So, happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Richard. Teresa?
Yes, Phyllis, thank you for taking over the reins here. I don't know. Honestly, I'm hoping that Republicans fumble the ball like they did the first Trump presidency, because so many, I use the analogy when everybody wants to cut in the front of the line, nobody gets ahead, and that they cannot advance their agenda. I think the real battle is going to be who's going to be the main influencer of Trump, and they're going to get so bogged down in that. And I'm just like, go Democrats, keep eating your popcorn and watching, and wherever they can interject, they can. And I think that's the way to go for the Democrats until we can 2 years from now get either something back. If not total Congress, the House, Senate, whatever we get back, because I don't think Republicans say they want power, but they are really, really at their most powerful in branding. You're like, how did so many people vote for them? They know how to brand. They know how to advertise. They know how to go on the trendy podcasts and reach the people and tell their message. They were about to and was Obamacare. So they really are good at that. And Democrats are not. No, we're not. But Democrats are good about being the grown-ups in the room. And I hope, again, that Republicans are just so busy fighting one another that they cannot advance that 2025 agenda.
Thank you, Teresa. Nancy?
Oh, we'll have to relay to Marion. Very good article. I think it brought out a lot of good points. Thank you for stepping up in her place. And also, like I said, it was a good article. We discussed a lot of points and gained some insight. And so everyone have a very nice holiday. And I guess I will see everyone in the new year. Okay.
Hey, Dee Dee, want to take 2 minutes?
Sure. I came to this meeting because I like coming to this meeting and I like seeing your faces. Myself and my normal environment, I don't have that. And so I've been super busy because my husband had two major surgeries and I had one. And so, but we're all doing a lot better now, and so I just needed to be here and to be included in this group because I know that I like all of you and I know that. And so I wanted to tell everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, whichever one you celebrate, Happy Hanukkah. And I hope that the new year brings good things. and it needs to bring good things. And Project 2025 is very, very scary if you read it. And I read it, and it was like, I looked at that and I said, how can people vote for that? Do they know what he's doing? How can they do that? And I'm still bouncing back off of the election. And so there we are.
Thank you, Dee Dee. So I'll do the facilitator wrap up. As was stated, Marion was unable to facilitate this morning. She let me know last night, and she was the one who did pick this article. I did, reading through it, I did think it had a good laying out of the different ways racism, white supremacy, all those things are going on in our country all the time, way before Trump. I do think it kept going back to Trump a lot, and the brief mention of Biden made it sound like he was just our hero daddy, and he's problematic too, and has been forever. So I think Beatrice brought up Stephen Miller and his immigrant family, and how can he be so against immigrants? Well, I'm sure I've heard other people who have come from immigrant families, even in just the generation before them, say, but we did it the right way. And then they perceive other people are doing it the wrong way, meaning illegally. I think the people who voted for Trump and were aware of Project 2025 think that everything in there is not going to be done to them. It's going to be done to other people. That's why they're not worried about it. There's a couple of TikToks I've seen where people are like, why don't we tell Elon Musk to go back to Africa? Well, I don't think we should do that to Africa. We should take care of him here. And Amal's story about Mr. Henry reminded me when I was in junior high school. There was a girl in my class named Dion Cherry, and the teacher, I think it was one of the literature English classes, kept, whatever book he was talking about, he kept saying colored people, colored people. And every time he said colored people, she'd go black. He'd say colored people, she'd say black. Until he finally stopped and had a conversation about it all. And then, I think the
You
person
froze for a minute.
Yeah, you froze.
What was the last thing you heard?
Black, that she would say black.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. He did stop and address and let her say what she wanted to say, that we're not saying color people anymore. We're saying black now. This was when I was in junior high school. And the last thing is, I think the person Stephanie was talking about, Lincoln, who was killed by an immigrant. Did I freeze again? And people put so much weight on that, give it so much importance, and it's such a terrible loss, and don't think about all the people, black, brown, whatever, who have been killed by white supremacy. But one white woman, we all got to like get up in arms. It's very similar to me to the reaction, some people, to the murder of one CEO versus all the deaths that CEO was responsible for because of the denials. So I'm not saying, well, I'll just say I'm not mad at Luigi. He's not my type, but I'm not mad at him. So I hope that people do wake up and see the way the country is really set up, and learn that people want to keep us, the rest of us, on the bottom, and the really, really uber wealthy want to have all the control. Okay, can everybody hear me? My network is unstable. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm going to stop the recording.